and and it's spreading like a wildfire. What's so neat is about Ari's book. You're talking about 20,000 readers. I'm one of those readers. I've probably read it more than anybody.
What's the name of your book, Ari?
I'm sorry. There's actually 2 books, and you can get both of them on our website. We want to keep them online, and the reason being is that a lot of people say, well, why don't you just send them in the mail and this and that. This is although it's an old technology, it's really it's growing, and we're getting more and more information, and we're updating the books constantly. So, but the name of the books, the first one is called Modify Your Car to Save Gas Using Water, and it's an online book, and you're part of our research line when you buy the book. So as we develop more research and as we develop a better system and we add more to it, we added a few more chapters in there about the multi-cell units and the diesel engines. That whole book, that first book, talks about the background of the hydrogen on-demand technology, how our system works, where to get the parts, how to build it, how to install it. The second book is called How to Save Tons of Fuel with Your Hydrogen on-Demand System, and it covers a multitude of different gas-saving techniques and additives and ways you can tune your engine and just driving techniques and how you can actually tweak the system with different applications. It also goes into very vivid detail about these electric enhancers that Frank was talking about on newer cars and how to use those. And we're adding to them. So
what's a kit cost these days to install it, buy it, and put it in?
Well, let's say if you were to build it yourself, or are you talking about having it professionally installed?
Okay, so you can build it yourself from the book?
Yeah, I mean, It's always preferable. I'm Jewish. I have a Jewish background, so I like to be stingy as possible.
Oh. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I can get away with saying that, but no, but I mean seriously, if you were to go to the hardware store and buy all this stuff, you could build one of these systems for less than $100 easy. If you were to get every component of what we call like the full system, which is like the HHO generator, there's like a preheater that you can use to preheat the fuel, and that helps atomize it to make it burn more efficiently, and all the various components of the full system. You're looking at maximum, I would say, $200.
All right, and so at the price of gasoline right now, let's assume somebody's got an older car, paid for, he's paying $4 a gallon. Chances are the fact that he didn't get a new car, he's probably on a tighter budget than most people.
Right.
If he goes ahead and he spends a couple $100 at the price of gasoline right now, he's going to pay that off pretty darn fast, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like me, for example, I don't drive real long distances, but I spend close to $1,000 a month on gas. And $1,000 a month on gas, that's just driving around LA. If I increase my fuel consumption by 20%, or I decreased it by 20%, I should say, that's $200 a month in my pocket.
Right there, yeah, there.
Go stick that in, a mutual fund or your kid's college plan.
Well, and if prices go down, and they're not going to go down that much, but if it dropped down to $3, wow, we're saving money. And that's, by the way, what they're doing.
Of course.
They're going to drop it down to $3, and we're going to think we've been saved.
How cheap is it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing with the hybrid I was telling you about. 22 miles per gallon from a Chevy Tahoe, and that's great mileage now.
No.
Yeah.
So if you had one of these, so you're at 30 generally. If you can get one of these units and put it in, do you get a tax refund because of this? You
can, and we actually part of the online training package is we give 7 free downloads. One of them is a whole book on how to use your hydrogen on-demand system to basically to write taxes off at the end of the year. The government does give you a tax break for having a hybrid car.
Right.
I think it would be kind of fun just to have one, to put it in.
It's kind of like a science project. I mean, the way I look at it is, my dad told me about this technology when I was a kid, and one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, George, is when I was growing up, my dad was one of these guys that was always telling stories and was always, you know, if he knew about your show back then, he probably would have been, you know, on every night on the phone, you know, blabbing away. But he was always telling me about, you know, the inside, you know, skinny of the government this and the political that. And one of the things he told me about was this concept called electrolysis. And he told me exactly what we teach people in our books. And I was like, you know, that's pretty cool. And, you know, I was like 10 years old, so what am I going to do about it? I didn't even drive a car. Well, he passed away, and literally one day I'm driving my girlfriend to a job interview. And I happened to pull up to where Water4Gas first started, which was at Ozzy's apartment out in the San Fernando Valley.
Uh-huh.
And she goes upstairs to interview with the president of the company, June, for an admin position. And there's Ozzy standing with about maybe 15 other people all bent over the hood of a car. And whenever I see a group of people congregating around a car, I'm stuck to it like a magnet. I love cars. So I ran over there and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? You need a jump start? You know?
Yo, what are you doing?
Right. You know, can I help? And it was, I looked down and I almost like my heart skipped a beat because I looked down under the hood of this car and there was the system that my dad had told me about when I was a kid. Never been done before, to my knowledge. And there was guys videotaping it, and it turns out that every week, since he started this movement, basically, he's put together quite a following, and he actually has live demonstrations on Saturdays at a very big park out there in the valley where people can come and bring their converted cars. And we were there last week, and there was hundreds of people right across from this big car show. And it's really taken on a life of its own.
Well, I've told my producer, Tom, that I'd like him to try this because I want him to be the honest guy, and not that you two aren't, but I want someone that I know and trust explicitly to have him test this and come back and tell me what happened. And I think you're prepared to let him do that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
We'll do anything we can to back you guys up. I mean,
yeah, you guys are doing an awesome thing here by letting people know about the technology. Even though it's an old technology, it's finally a usable technology where people finally have, they're in a position where they have to make a decision. Do we pay for the high price of gas or do we do something about it?
Well, somebody's got to step forward. Somebody in the media's got to, stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. And if I can't beat them at the pump, well, maybe we can get them in a different way. And there's other alternatives too out there, and we'll be doing more and more programs on this. I'm trying to find the compressed air people right now. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I hope they're still out there. But we're going to keep doing more and more of this. Now, does this also, by the mere fact that it's supplementing fuel, does it in theory save fuel so you're not using as much gasoline?
Yes.
It does. It actually tells the computer, based on the way the computer is set up on, except for like a couple of newer cars, you got to do a little more tweaking. It's actually telling them, yeah, we're fine, so cut back. Don't make it run as rich because your car is running a little cooler. It's doing some other things that actually tell the computer to lean the fuel out. And you actually are consuming less.
Got anything going on in New Mexico? Richard Hoagland just sent me a special message, and he says, I want to try one out here. Well, he's our science advisor.
There was
we'll get you in touch with him.
I think we were just on a radio show last night in New Mexico, believe it or not.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll do that, too. We'll put Richard to the test and let him test that out. Richard, of course, drives a 1902 Model T.
Nice.
And,
It'll work great. It'll work great.
All right. We're going to have phone calls with you two next hour. We'll talk about energy. We'll talk about alternative systems. It's your turn with our two special guests. We'll be back. We're with Ari Cohen, Fred Gutierrez. Fred, is there any maintenance involved in this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're like, anything with a car that requires some maintenance, but it's relatively simple. What you do, the type of systems we have, they're actually stainless steel canisters, and you just pop your hood, you open them up. You got a little control unit inside your car that tells when your system needs serviced. That's one of the new things we added. You open up your hood, you disconnect a couple wires, take the vacuum hose off, pop it out, unscrew the top, empty it out, rinse it out, put in some more distilled water and some baking soda, close it up, and hook it back up. Takes about 3 to 5 minutes to service the system, and you're back and running.
And you're interesting that you just brought something up. Distilled water is what you put in the little jar?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to use distilled water because if you use any other type of water, you've got minerals in there that could form deposits inside the engine and cause problems in the engine down the road.